What is going on, guys? Welcome to Life of Bliss. In this video I will be going over how to make mountain shelves. Now if you've been following the channel at all, I've been buying a ton of speakers for our theater area downstairs, and my wife has threatened to kick me out of the house if I don't get these done before starting those speaker builds. But that's okay, that's going to be a fun project and it's going to look great in our son's room when they're done. Now to do this you only need a few supplies. I've got some 1x4 boards here and some 1/4-inch plywood. I've also got some paint to paint some snow caps on the mountains. It doesn't take too long. It's only going to take a few hours to piece everything together, and it doesn't cost very much at just under $30 for all of this. So let me make some measurements and get started.
We hired a graphic designer to come up with some very technical drawings, and we ultimately decided to go with a design that was about 40 inches long. The great thing about these shelves is the only angle you need to use is 30 degrees. Once you set that on your miter saw, you're ready to make all of your cuts. Here I'm starting by cutting my 40-inch base with both ends angling towards the center. Next, using the same board and cutting method, I cut a piece 14 inches long and 13 1/4 inches long. This will make a perfect triangle on the base.
So if you made just a single triangle shelf without this long base on the bottom, each of these would be the same length. But since this bottom piece is taking up both the bottom here and on this side, I had to take 3/4 of an inch off of that to account for the thickness of the board. So while this is 14-inch long from longest point to longest point, this is only 13 1/4 inch long from point to point, and that gives you a perfect triangle in there.
With the technical stuff out of the way, I continued to make my cuts, making the two sides for the larger mountain at 16 inches and 15 1/4 inches. After testing for fitment, it was time to attach the mountains to the base. Wood glue was used to create a strong hold, and an 18-gauge brad nailer was used to secure them into place.
What do you think?
Talon stopped by to check out the progress and didn't seem too impressed. The first method I used was to attach one side to the base and then the other side. This worked fine, but I liked how I attached the other mountain better. Instead of attaching to the base first, I secured the two sides together at the top and then attached it to the base. Either way works fine, I just felt this method was easier. Using a scrap piece of wood, I was able to get the correct angle and measure the length I wanted for my next mountain.
So for this board, instead of turning it over after making one of the 30-degree angle cuts, I kept it the same orientation to where they are both made on the same plane. That 30-degree angle will line up against that board, give us the same shape we've been working with, and now I need to figure out how long that board needs to be.
I glued and secured the one side so it would not be moving while I measured the length of the second side. Now you can use a scrap piece to get your angle correct and try to measure the length for the other side with a tape measure. I found the easiest method was to have the 30-degree angle cut on one end and just barely set it on top of the other board. Then you can accurately mark the length you'll need to cut by marking where it meets with the other mountain side. Once cut, it should fit into place and give you another even triangle. I attached that side and made one more small mountain using the same method.
So here are the shelves all assembled. You can go ahead and stain these from here and just use them as is. I'm going to take some 1/4-inch plywood and make some little snow caps up top and paint those white. So I'll get those cut out and show you how to attach them.
To make my template, I set the mountaintops on the plywood and traced the size I wanted them to be. And since all of the mountain angles were cut at 30 degrees, it was very easy to go to the miter saw and accurately cut out the tops. I cut all the tops on one side before switching the saw over to the opposite 30 degrees from 90 and cut out the other sides. To give the snow caps a more natural look, I drew a jagged design on the bottom and cut it out with a jigsaw. This would be a perfect opportunity to use a bandsaw if you had one. Regardless, just be careful not to cut off any fingers in this step. I tested the spray paint on a scrap piece to see how it would look, and it was awful. I opted to go with some trim paint we had left over from another project that I could brush on. I used a foam brush to get in all the cuts that were made and put on 2 coats. I used some drywall spackle to fill the nail holes along the top. They will be painted over so the white color won't matter. Before going any further, I sanded all of the edges with 220 grit to smooth everything out before staining or painting. For staining, I used a clean cloth to apply the Minwax oil stain and worked my way around the shelf. The tips didn't get stained since they would be getting painted and allow a better bond for gluing the snow caps on later. Once the coat of stain was applied, any excess was wiped off with a clean cloth. With all of the angles and corners, I decided to pick up some wipe-on polyurethane top coat instead of the brush-on formula that I usually use. This made it very easy to apply in all the tight spaces, and the finish came out very smooth. I ended up applying a total of 2 coats. To attach the snow caps, glue was added to the bare wood on the mountain and the back of the snow cap. These were set in place and allowed to dry. To paint the rest of the snow caps, I used a foam brush to draw out a similar pattern as the front pieces. I just made these up as I went, adding peaks and valleys along the side. This again took 2 coats to get complete coverage.
Now the last step before we get this hung up on the wall is to throw some mounting brackets on the backside.
I grabbed some sawtooth hangers and straightened them out with a pair of pliers. This took away the raised area on the bracket, which allows the shelves to sit as close to the wall as possible. Then it was just a matter of drilling pilot holes and attaching the brackets. Since the mounting brackets were different heights on the shelf, a level was needed to make sure it was hung straight. Once level, a few marks were made and some wall anchors were put into place.
What do you think of your shelf, buddy? Yeah? You like it? Is it pretty cool? Yeah. So the shelves turned out really awesome for his room. They kind of go along with the woodland theme that we've been doing, and obviously he is super excited about them, so that's the most important part. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Hit the thumbs up if so. Consider subscribing if you're into DIY projects. Thanks for checking out Life of Bliss, and I will see you guys soon. Say bye-bye. Yay! It's over.
Is it going? Is me checking my hair? Looks good.
Yeah, I do this every time before I start recording myself too.
I know. It's really important. Hey guys, this is Becky. I'm taking over Life of Bliss this week. Today we're Hey guys, this is Becky. I'm taking over Life of Bliss this week. This week we're going to be talking to you about how to make some mountain shelves. Stop looking at me like that. Hey guys, this is Becky Bliss. I'm taking over Life of Bliss this week. And we're going to be teaching you how to make some mountain shelves like those ones you see at Hobby Lobby that are super expensive. These are going to be way better and way cuter.
It's a wrap.